Welcome to the Stories That Shape Us, where we have conversations about how discovering your identity, enhancing your relationships, and taking risks lead to a more purposeful life. I'm Tina Morales, and I'm an associate professional counselor and master's level marriage and family therapist. In my counseling practice, I help couples move from conflict to connection so they can start to live out their relationship vision.
I'm Fira Johnson, and I own ATL Pula Wellness Studio with the vision of giving every family the hope and freedom to live a healthier life. Through our work, we create spaces and provide resources that foster true well-being.
We came together to bring you these stories so you can collect tools and insights from those who have stepped into their power and are making an impact. Join us on the road less traveled. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Stories That Shape Us. We are your hosts. I am Tina Morales.
And I'm Kiara Johnson.
And today we have a really, really cool opportunity to interview someone that you guys are going to want to know a lot about. Yes. So I'm going to let Kiara introduce our guest, and we'll jump right in.
All right. This is Jasmine. So Jasmine is the Chief Creative Officer and leads fashion design, marketing, and branding for Fira X Wear. She is more widely known as Cutiepiesensei. Stalk her page, it's amazing. And has been featured from her cosplay on Disney Plus and Sci-Fi, as well as the social media pages for Amazon Prime Video, Marvel, Warner Bros., and more. By day, she's a concept artist for a video game studio and designs different outfits and skins for a myriad of different characters. She utilizes her artist background when designing clothing for Fira X Wear. Yeah. Fira X Wear is a premium pop culture inspired fashion line designed with everyone in mind. It is an ethical, sustainable, and inclusive brand that aims to create elevated pop culture clothing that touches the hearts of fans but can be appreciated by anyone. So it's super amazing. So amazing.
Okay, seriously, thank you for being here. Hello, Jasmine.
Hi. No, I appreciate being asked. So
yes. What a cool, what you do by day is epic, and what by Sensei is epic, Fira X Wear is epic, but tell us more about what you're up to now, and then some background on how you got here, how you got to do this design work and all the amazing stuff you're doing.
Yeah, no worries. You're gonna hear me ramble then.
Yeah.
Okay, so I tell people all the time I have 3 jobs. So my first and foremost job is my concept art job. I have been drawing for literally as long as I can remember. I was admonished by teachers growing up because I would be drawing in class while they would try to teach and ask questions, and then they would try to call me out and ask me a question, and then I would answer it because I was listening. It's just a thing that you do on autopilot. So it's always been in my blood. I always knew I wanted to do something related to art in some kind of way. I wasn't always sure. I think first I wanted to go into animation, and then I realized that animation wasn't as stable as I would have liked. So I was like, okay, let me figure out something else. And I always loved video games. So I was like, let's go hop on over here and see how concept art would work. It's a very competitive field. So I was always worried that I wouldn't get into it. And here I am. It worked out.
Yeah,
your dreams. So I've just kind of taught myself a little bit. I'm not formally trained in art, even though I went to art camps and stuff. I didn't go to art school. I went to Georgia Tech, but I just worked on my portfolio, and yeah, that's where I am now. And when it comes to cosplay and making costumes, it was a thing that I gained interest in once I got to Georgia Tech. My husband Vincent introduced me to MomoCon, which used to take place on Tech's campus. Now it's grown into like this huge thing, but he brought me to it because he was like, you like all this nerdy stuff. I feel like you would be into it. And he was right. I was. And I saw people, like, all I had to do was be introduced because I just wasn't introduced to it. So once I was there, I was like, oh, so people do this and make costumes and do all this. All right, awesome. So I'm going to do that now. And I started making costumes a couple years later. And I was kind of doing both cosplay and the concept art thing kind of side by side, and ended up working really well together because all of my leads and bosses and stuff always said it was really great that I actually knew how to make costumes and sew, because it helped me make costumes and stuff for characters in the game that made sense. And so like that design knowledge kind of goes back and forth, because then when I was designing costumes for, like mashups and other like custom designs I was doing for myself, I could use those skills that I learned doing art, like different, techniques in terms of making sure things are balanced and you have different weights of detail and all that kind of stuff. I learned that on my art side, and then I kind of brought that to my costuming. And so together those kind of went hand in hand. And then Fira Wear, we kind of created during the pandemic, and we just really wanted to do something cool where you could combine like costuming and cosplay and nerdy stuff, but make it in a way that appealed to a wide range of people. Because sometimes nerdy type clothing and that kind of thing can look very nerdy and look very like kind of not, I feel like corny is a bad word to use, but a little bit corny. And I wanted something that was a little bit more stylish, because I feel like that was more my vibe. And Vincent and I felt like that was the right way to go in that direction. And so he handles all the business stuff, and I'm like, cool, I can just draw cute outfits and handle all the boring stuff. So,
yes.
Yeah.
What a cool life, and just how everything be so just cohesive together. Like that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
How it worked out.
Yeah, they all kind of go together in a weird way. Like once I describe it, I feel like, oh yeah, layers on top of each other, it makes sense. But yeah, so I do a lot.
I love it.
Yeah.
I have so many questions, because it's such a creative journey, and I love how you have a natural skill to draw. That's one thing. And then you said you also create costumes. So is that something you had to learn? Or
I had to teach myself. I didn't know how to sew. I didn't know how to do anything. And then there was
like art classes at tech or anything. Wow.
No. So it got to a point where I was like, okay, I want to make these costumes. Because at first I started off like everybody. I was just like gluing stuff together, and I was kind of it. And I was like, okay, but I want to elevate it. I want to be great. So I went with my grandma to the store, and we got a sewing machine, and she kind of taught me some basics. And then from there, she was like, you got it. And I did a lot of Googling and just a lot of research and all the tutorials and trial and error, and just kind of jumped into the fire. There was a particular costume that I did where I went from not having any skills to being like, all right, for this costume, I need to learn how to sew spandex. I need to learn how to pattern a complete bodysuit by myself. I need to learn how to build props. I need to learn how to build armor. I need to do body paint, and I need to learn how to work with LEDs. And I did all of that in one costume for the first time, which was a mistake. I tell no one to do that because I had a miserable time. But when I finished, I knew so many new things, and everything else seemed easy.
That's impressive. It's just really impressive, because I think it's when you see something you want to do, that's one thing. But when you realize all the steps to doing it yourself, and then being willing to do all of those steps, like it's really admirable.
Yeah. I'm curious, like what led you to say, I need to learn all these things, and I am gonna take the steps to learn all of those things with one costume? Like what kind of motivated you, or what was your like driving force in that?
This is going to sound terrible, but honestly, competitiveness, because I was like, I want to be the best. I want to be good. And all these store-bought versions of this costume look trash, and I want to make something that's good. And if I'm going to spend money, I don't want to spend money and then be like, this still is ugly. I want to spend money. And even if it is ugly and I made it, at least it's my fault. I can only blame myself. Because you know how like when you spend a lot of money on something and like you pay for it, you expect it to be a certain way, and you get it and it's bad, you're just angry and upset. But if you do something yourself, if you cook something yourself and it like doesn't turn out quite the way you want, where you're like, oh, well, I tried, you know? So that was my mindset. And ultimately I was just like, okay, because at the time it's a little bit different now because you can kind of buy costumes that are decent quality now. But back when I started, they were not good. And I wanted to look really good when I went to the conventions. I was like, I'm about to be cute out here. I'm not about to look crazy with the store-bought costumes. So I guess I'm going to have to learn how to do it because otherwise I'm not going to have it. So
I really hope that I don't know if they do awards for costumes. I really hope that they do and that you submit more. They're really, really amazing. Like I would think you were designing for years on years on years.
Yeah. Thank you.
Seriously, you made me want to go to con and all these cons and try on something. Like,
look, it's actually a lot of fun. I recommend anyone go if you have the chance just to like experience it, try it out. I recently went to New York Comic Con. I was paid to go by Amazon because we were doing some stuff for Rings of Power, some promotional stuff for their show. And I brought my mom, and my mom had never been to a convention before because when I started going, I went with my husband. I had never gone with her. She didn't know about them back then. So first time going, and she was just looking around like, oh my goodness. She was like, you and your brother would have loved this when y'all were growing up. I wish I had brought y'all here. This is so cool. And she sat through like some of the panels with me and stuff. And I asked her at the end, I was like, hey, you've never seen any of these shows, but you sat through all these panels with the casts and stuff. How do you feel about it? And she was like, it makes me want to watch the show. It makes me want to like come back and do all this stuff. I need you to dress me up. And we go to a con together and stuff. So she loved it. It's super fun. And she's not in like the nerdy sphere at all, like I am. So it's a cool and really different experience. So everyone should try it just one time, at least once.
Cool.
Yeah.
That brings me to sort of a next question, because I've heard you talk about Vince kind of took you to MomoCon when y'all were at Tech, and Grandma took you to the sewing store, and Mama's supportive. Like, that's so special. Like, were those the moments or experiences that you feel like really got you into this creative side of your life, or was there any standout story or background of who Jasmine is or what you experienced that got you here?
That's an interesting question. It's a little hard for me because I feel like my whole life has been shaped by creativity. Like I've always been a creative person. Like I said, I've been drawing for as long as I can remember. Even growing up, whenever it was time for like summer camps and stuff, I was either in art camp or drama camp or just I was always doing something creative. Growing up, my grandma at church, she was the one who was doing all like the bulletin boards, and I would always help her out. So in terms of like literally like putting up the borders and designing like, oh, what colors are we going to use? We're going to like do this craft to put up on here. Like that was just stuff I was doing. Every single project in school where we had to make a diorama or something, best believe my grandma had all the craft supplies and we were working on that stuff together, and mine always looked the best because that was just something where, I always did that with her, and I was always, like, hey, I want this to look good. I really like doing this crafty stuff. And so that was before making costumes, right? I was just into crafts in general. So just growing up, it was just always kind of around in different ways, whether it was performing arts or visual arts or even music, because I was always taking music classes growing up. I was playing piano for most of my life up through high school. So it was always like, I was just always in the arts, even though I went to I was in a math like magnet. So I was always doing like the STEM side of stuff too, but art was like my true passion. It was my true love. And so I always knew I was going to find a way to do something cool with it, even if I didn't know what it was. And I've been blessed to be in a family where like everyone was super supportive of that. Because I know a lot of people are into like artsy creative stuff, and they don't always have people who want to nourish that. But my
Right.
family was always like, hey, find the thing you love and do it. Just make sure you're good at it if you're going to do it. So that's why they threw it all into me. It's like, all right, if this is what you want, we're going to make sure, you have what you need to do the things you want to do. So
I love that you almost like answered a question that I had. A lot of times, a lot of stories that we hear, it's like when someone has this creative artistic side, that a lot of times that can be either shunned or rejected, like you can't do anything with that, right? Like there's this narrative that somehow that's not like a career path that you can actually go into in life.
Yeah. I've heard that a lot.
It sounds like your family was super supportive in terms of saying, you know what, if you are going to do this, we're going to fully support you. And I'm curious, or I wonder if maybe there's like the competitive thing came out of that. Like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it to my all. Like, I'm going to make sure it's.
I mean, there's a couple of different sides of it, right? So part of it is because my grandfather on my dad's side was literally like a great artist. Like he was a painter. Like we used to have like paintings that he did like in our house. So automatically, like my family was like, okay, so the art gene went into her. All right, cool. Yeah. And I think when it came to trying to find a career in art, my mom was always the one where she was like, hey, let's figure out how you can make money doing this. Because she didn't want me to be a starving artist. So she was like, all right. It was actually one of the reasons why I went to Georgia Tech, because initially I was a computational media major, where it's basically like a video game design like major. So she was like, hey, you can take this, you can still like do artsy stuff within games. Like that was the initial thought. So now like I work in games in a different way, but it was still kind of like that was the path. And my mom was actually the one that discovered the major, like she was the one that did the research, and she was like, hey, this seems like this would be really interesting for you. So they were always just like, hey, we'll find a way to make money. Because I tell everyone all the time, like, there is a way to make real money in pretty much any field. You just have to find a way to do it. But you can literally do anything and make money. You just gotta be creative. And in terms of the competitiveness, I mean, that's just me. My dad played professional basketball. So like, we had that just kind of energy. Like I get that from him. It's just like, look, if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna be good at it. Yeah. That's why I'm a sore loser when it comes to video games. I don't like it. I'm that very person that's like, run it back or go do it again until I win. That's just the type of person I am.
I love it. It all flows down, right? Like the creative genes, the artistic genes, the competitive genes, like it all flowed down, and it's all packaged inside of you in a really unique way, which is really, really cool. I am curious, along the journey, what would you say are some of the challenges that you face, whether that's personally, like in your personal life, as you're trying to grow and build these different businesses and this work that you do, or even like within the field? Like, what have been some of your challenges?
Well, it's a lot of challenges. For starters, at least in the concept art field, it's not a lot of women. There are women in games, but not as many as some other fields. So you're definitely going into it feeling like, oh, okay. So I feel like I have this extra level to prove myself, especially because there's not a lot of Black women. Like automatically, there's not a lot of women in general. And then Black women, they're like not non-existent, but the percentage is very tiny. Yeah. So you go into it, and I feel like you always feel like you have to prove yourself. People are looking at you like, okay, let's see what you can do. Luckily, I was able to get through that hurdle at work eventually. I had to work my way up, but I was able to get through that. In terms of doing the costuming and all that kind of stuff too, I mean, we're in a situation where most pop culture icons and characters and stuff that people are familiar with tend to be white or Asian, and basically they don't look like me. So I have had to deal with a lot of racism and stuff in the space, just because, you dress up as characters and they'll be like, such and such isn't Black, you look wrong, why are you doing this, that kind of thing. Luckily it's gotten a little bit better with time. It still hasn't completely improved with time. There's still discrimination and people will occasionally say something off the wall and then I will immediately roast them on TikTok and then but
I have to thank you for still being loud about designs, about your right to be here, about your right to like. I will thank you for doing that. I know I can imagine how hard it is to get that kind of hatred, but you get louder, and I love it.
It's because it's annoying because like people be like such and such isn't Black, and I'm like, oh no, you think, man, I saw this character and thought that looks just like me. And like I'm not dumb. Of course, I still want to do it anyway. Clearly, I'm not stupid. So you got to deal with that, and also age, because I feel I'm not old, but I feel old. I feel ancient compared to because these girls now doing the social media cosplay thing, because the landscape is very different than when I first started. So all these girls are like 21, 19 years old. And they're like, oh, I'm a huge cosplayer and stuff now. And me over here at my old age of 30 is like, oh man.
That's real though.
To be a millennial now when in the age of Gen Z. So it's just, you're trying to keep up. Luckily people don't know I don't look old, so
I was gonna say you fit right in with these 19-year-olds. Stop it.
Yeah, for real. And it's even when you walk your own lane, it's like you can only worry about people so much. Like you seem to be just thriving, and I feel like you just have such a uniqueness. Your look, you know, the beauty, the talent with your designs. I feel like it is and has already paved the way for you. I think it will continue to.
Yeah, and I'm trying, and I think part of what keeps me going is a lot of times people will reach out to me, and in fact this happens all the times at cons, and it still like is emotional for me when I'll go and people will literally like walk up to me and just be like, hey, I've been following your work for so long. I literally started doing cosplay and costuming and stuff because of you. And just seeing you do it, even though like you don't necessarily look like every character, like you still kill it and still look good and are able to make these costumes and stuff. And it was super inspirational for me. And it always makes me feel like a little like,
yes, like literally you are representation, right? Like, yeah, maybe throughout the years these characters haven't looked a certain way, but like I'm here. And I'm creating the path. I'm creating the journey. Like representation truly does matter.
It does.
And it's really, really cool that you're kind of seeing how you get to create this path for people who want to come after you.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
It's been neat. It's a lot of work, but it's been very rewarding.
Yeah.
That's special.
Well, what would you say is maybe something that has helped you navigate those challenges? Like how have you kind of overcome some of those hurdles or work through those hurdles as they come?
So one is prayer, because quite frankly sometimes all you can do is just pray and just get yourself centered, because you can't always control what other people are doing. All you can fully control is your reaction to it. So that therapy, because I do have a therapist, and we've very much talked about how even when sometimes like people say negative stuff, I don't think people necessarily think of it this way, but it is a form of trauma. It is a form of like when people are saying like sexual comments about you or really racist comments about you, like that's a form of assault. Like it's verbal, it's online. It might not feel like it's real, but like over time it adds up and it is real. And so you have to find methods to deal with that. So therapy has definitely helped me kind of view it in a different way. Having a supportive husband, like I would not be doing any of this stuff if I didn't have my husband Vincent, because it is a lot. And he is able to deal with me being a lot sometimes, because I know I can be a diva if like I'm dealing with 5 million things. And he's very much seen me through a late night where I am like trying to crunch on a costume for a con and I only got like a day or two left. And it's 4 a.m. and I'm over here. He's ordering me food and he's taking care of like the house and stuff while I'm super busy. And he's great. So I would not be able to do it without him. And he deals with me ranting to him so that way I don't rant on the internet and say something crazy. So just having just supportive people around you. And then lastly, just honestly, I'm blessed that I've been able to build a community, and that community has helped me deal with a lot of crazy stuff. And I am super thankful for everyone who has followed me and considers himself a fan, because one, I wouldn't have all the opportunities I have now without those people. And two, it's cool to know that people have your back. Like, as an example, I had an issue happen this week. This literally just happened, where there were a couple of companies, of like Chinese companies that sell costumes, who basically had taken like my specific Black Panther suit design, because this wasn't like an official design that Marvel had put out. Like, I had taken some ideas from like the comics and the movies and stuff, and I did like my own specific design. I don't own Black Panther, but I made that specific design.
Yeah.
These companies took that specific design and were selling it.
Wow.
And I had a couple of people send me the link and reach out to me. I was like, hey, I saw this company selling this, and this is definitely your Black Panther suit. And I was like, wow. And I put them on blast on social media, and I asked people, I was like, hey, can y'all like contact the company, see what we can do? And people came out in droves. Like, in one day, I made a post about it, and one day that thing was shared 5,000 times. There were people left reviews and sent emails, were commenting on all like their pictures and stuff, like, hey, you stole this design from Cutiepiesensei. We want you to take it down. That's not cool that you took this from her. And they took it down.
Woo!
And issued a public apology. And I'm like, y'all are amazing, because they weren't responding to my emails at all. And so like having people who like literally like will come out in droves and have your back and kind of fight for you, is just, it's an amazing thing. And I never thought like starting this that I would have support like that. So I just really appreciate like all my fans and stuff.
Great
It's
example.
really cool.
That's so crazy that stuff like that happens. But yeah, that's amazing you have that kind of support.
Oh,
Wow.
that was so good. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's amazing. So yeah, I can, you know me, I like love your stuff, and I'll just like get distracted, but I'll stick forward. Are there any skills or practical tools that you've learned along your way from a kid, from tech till now, that you think other people would need to know or could use in their lives?
Okay, I'm trying to separate general life skills from very specific, this is how you sew this and attach to this. Okay, I would say, kind of harking back to what I said before, making sure you just have a good support system. A lot of times in a lot of our lives now, I think a lot of people can focus on what's going on the internet and what's online. Everybody's on their phones and everybody's on Twitter, and they're all in everybody's business. And you have to understand that like, this is the internet. It is not always real. You need to make sure you have people that you can talk to, whether that is a spouse, whether that's a therapist, whether that's your best friend. Like, you need to have somebody outside of all that to kind of help center yourself, because it's very, very easy to get sucked up into all like that negative emotion.
Yeah.
And it'll send you to a bad place.
Yeah.
So just make sure you kind of just work on those relationships outside of the internet. Internet relationships are cool. I've met some great friends through the internet, but like real life, it's more important. So make sure you focus on that stuff. Make sure you take time to have fun. I think a lot of times we get into work, and I got 3 jobs. I understand it's so easy to get sucked up into all that stuff. but you need to make sure you take time for yourself, whether it's just like taking a vacation, taking like a road trip, like doing something where you're able to just like get away from like all the life, business, work stuff, and be able to focus on being like, hey, let me remember who I am as an individual. Let me remember the things that make me happy. Let me remember what I'm working towards. Because you get soaked up into work and then you're like, what is the purpose? Like, what is the goal? You're just working just to work, working just to have money. There's so many people I know who they'll get these amazing jobs that might pay $1 bajillion or whatever. And it's like, okay, but you're working 20 hours a day at like you're making money to spend it on what? Because you can't enjoy it if you're not taking the time for you. So just make sure you take time for yourself, focus on yourself. And lastly, always carry super glue with you because you never know when you might need it.
That is the best one I think I've heard.
A lot of uses for that.
That is so good.
For literally anything.
That is so. You've touched on it, and I'm really curious because it sounds like your support network has been crucial, like fundamental from the very beginning in terms of having family members who supported you, to your husband who even introduced you to, you said it was MomoCon, which by the way, I'm going to need to look up because I'm not familiar with what that is. Do you want to know what that is real quick?
Yeah, it's a anime convention that happens here in Atlanta at around the end of May now. Yeah, at the World Congress Center. Yeah.
Okay. So your husband introduced you to that, and that kind of branched out and kind of grew this designing costumes. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have family members who are supportive. We have husband who's introduced you to this. We've had just a support network who's lifted you up, and even like the internet, like your community, through all the work that you've done has lifted you up. Like when it comes to relationships, is that something that you had to like work hard to build, or did that seem like such a natural aspect that like you were able to pull on early experiences to say, I can continue to build these communities? Like, just tell me how that was, like just the development of relationships for you.
I'd say it came natural. I don't really know if I would say I specifically worked to have those relationships, because I mean, family is family, like I wouldn't be who I am or, where I've been able to achieve without my family raising me the way that they did and supporting me the way that they did. And, putting all those things in me, like putting those creative like ideas and stuff in me and giving me those resources. And when it came to like my husband, I mean, I will say I have a very special situation because I met my husband freshman year and I have been with him ever since. I found him, we dated, and I was like, well, guess this is my person. So I was blessed to be in a situation where I had that support in the beginning, and then we grew together, and I kind of always had that support in a way. And so I'm very grateful for that, because I know not everybody has that situation. And then when it came to building a community, it was weird. I actually didn't initially want to build a community. I was posting stuff online just in different like groups every now and then. I posted on Tumblr a couple of times, and people were just like, hey, you should like make a Facebook page for your costumes, and you should post on Instagram, like on your Instagram page. And I was like, I don't want to do that. And I did it for a while, and then I was like, okay, fine, you keep asking. And slowly people started like just following, and I'm over here just making stuff and posting stuff. I'm like, I don't know why y'all here, but like, I mean, here's a picture, sure, like I guess if you're interested. And over time it just grew, and people would start reaching out to me, and I was like, oh, y'all really care, that's awesome and weird, and I didn't know that this was a thing. And parasocial relationships are real. And I think people, when they see you grow and they see you start in one place where like I was still learning how to make certain things. Back then there weren't really like opportunities for cosplayers like that. I was purely doing it because it was fun. It wasn't a job. I was not getting paid. And people seeing you go from that to like actually getting opportunities and getting paid to do stuff and getting flown places and doing all that. It's cool. See, I think like when people are watching you, they feel like they're a part of that because they've just seen it happen over time. It's like when you watch a TV show and you see you've been watching for seasons and then you see the little kid grow. There's like a kid character and you're like, you were just a baby 2 seasons ago. What happened? Like it's like the same type of thing where you're just like, oh, I've seen so much happen. So people have just, attached themselves a little bit to what I've been doing. And it's neat and weird. And it just kind of happened organically, which is nice.
I love it. I think the lesson I get from that is like, invest in what you enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Like really give your full effort to these things that come naturally to you, but then also these things that you enjoy. And man, the support, the needs that come with it, like it'll come. Right?
Yeah, I think people respect authenticity and people respect like
love it.
You just being passionate. I think sometimes people, especially with social media and online, they get on these platforms and they're just doing stuff like, how do I get popular? How do I just do these certain things? So like, what is going to get me followers? And that's not real. I think, one of the reasons why I tell people why I get, invites to certain things or why I get certain promotions and that kind of thing, even though I might not have as many followers as this girl over here who might have a few million, it's because I think my community has really seen how I feel about costuming and how I feel about design and doing all this stuff. And you're able to invest because it feels like you're making a difference. It feels like you're real. And real recognizes real. So
go ahead. Real recognizes real.
No, it's been special to watch. It really has been special. And you are so transparent, like about what you know at different times. And I figured out this and I added this to this. And it's like, it really, really is authentic. And it's really been amazing to watch. And kudos to you too for kind of hopping back to your previous answer about like what you do for self-care, therapy, travel, like kudos to you to maintain that type of awareness.
Yeah.
Doing something you love and just having some great success in it, but still saying like, I need my husband and I need my parents and I need the people around me and I need to travel.
I have to.
To stay grounded in that way and have that balance and that I imagine it's hard to keep that balance the more people are pulling on you. But to hear you have that awareness is definitely a lesson I take away too.
Yeah, trying. Like this month has been hard. It's gotten away from me a little bit in terms of balancing work versus like, self-care. So I'm hoping in this next month I'll be able to do that.
Add some extra trips on the back.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we got an extra long one coming up. So I'm like, all right, well, that I'll put it during that time. So
yeah. Oh, that's so good. Say I'm someone who is trying to say I have a passion for something, and maybe I don't have the support, right? Maybe there are people who are saying that I shouldn't be doing this. There's something else better that I could be doing, or I just don't even like know if what I'm doing is good enough, right? I love this thing. But I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know if it's actually worth the time or the energy and the investment. What piece of advice would you give someone who's maybe starting off on their journey of trying to discover what they want to do with these things that they enjoy without the support and without like the self-belief almost? Like, what piece of advice would you give?
Yeah. I think what's really important is you have to find the support. I don't think it's any of us out here doing anything can be successful without any form of support. And if it's not coming from the people who are around you, those communities are online. I understand I said earlier that online isn't real, but what I will also say is that there's been certain like Facebook groups and things that I found that, quite frankly, there's a lot of skills that I wouldn't have if it wasn't for those people. You end up sharing your failures and questions and whatnot within these communities. And I think what's wonderful about the internet is that it gives people now the opportunity to find like-minded individuals, even if they're like in the middle of nowhere, where they're like, all right, no one in my town is interested in this thing that I'm interested in. Yeah. And no one understands it. It's like, okay, but I guarantee you there's a Facebook group.
Yeah.
With people, like full of people who will be able to like completely and like fluently talk about the thing you want to talk about. And I think just having even something as simple as that will be inspiring enough to at least help you kind of push forward in just whatever the thing is that you were interested in doing. And in terms of self-doubt, I mean, I'm gonna be really honest with you, imposter syndrome never goes away.
Thank you for that.
Like it never goes away. You will always feel like, why am I here? What am I doing? I am not gonna ever be good enough. Like I tell people all the time, I don't think I'm that, like I'm okay at making costumes. I make a lot of mistakes. People don't see, like me sewing is 75% me seam ripping because I always mess up. So
yes.
You know, I think we all make mistakes. We all feel like we could be better. It's the same thing with my concept art stuff. I'm on a team where I'm surrounded by amazing artists. Like everyone is so talented. And I look at their stuff and I'm like, I can't do what you do. But then we'll turn around, we'll be in a meeting, they'll be like, oh man, Jasmine, your work is so cool. And I'm like, what? How? Why? I can't believe what you're saying. So we all feel it. And you just got to keep pushing anyway and find your cheerleaders who will be like, rah, keep going. And who will give you honest critique, because having a bunch of yes people is not good either. But when you find a community that's honest with you, they will push you forward and they will give you honest critique and they will be positive at the same time. So yeah, I'm rambling. I'm sorry.
No, that was so
awesome.
good. I loved everything that you just said.
And what I appreciate too, that it's like, I feel like it's been an underlying theme, is like your willingness to learn and put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Is so special. Like it's like there's a humility in that too.
Yeah.
Like putting even like post, I would be terrified to post my first costume and I had no art background. Like, but you did, and you continue to do, and obviously you're great at it now. And I'm just like, but the fact that you started, you were willing to be vulnerable with that and meet people and meet other cosplayers, and there's a humility in that. I think that willingness to learn, that is really awesome.
Yeah. Be willing to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Be willing to be uncomfortable. And know that you can continue to learn. Yeah. You can continue to learn. I love
we all can.
Yes. We asked so many,
I know,
just like random questions that we didn't even have planned, because conversation was so natural and like such a flow. So thank you for sharing what you shared. We usually do have one last question. Do you want to ask this one?
So we always ask, is there any question you wish we would have asked? Yeah. And how would you answer it? So anything you wanted to share, anything we just didn't get to that you would like to share?
I mean, y'all covered a lot. Like, I feel like y'all have asked me questions that I haven't been asked in other interviews that I've done. So I really appreciate like the perspective that y'all have. So I don't know if I have much. I'm gonna see. Let me think. Okay, I'm gonna have two. One, it'll be like, Jasmine, how do you balance it all? With 3 jobs.
No, but how do you?
Yes.
I don't. I'm stressed and crying all the time.
Thank you for the realness.
It's very hard. I don't know how I do it either. It's a lot of work. I'm working all the time. Second question. What's a random fun story so people can know that things are interesting and not just work all the time?
Oh, I love it.
Well, can you answer that one? Like, what is a random, like, your most fun cosplay or, concept or whatever? What's your most fun story that you're like, oh, guys, if you're interested, you got to do this?
Well, this isn't really like a, oh, guys, if you're interested, you got to do this type of story. But it is funny because this is recent. This is recent.
Yes.
So my husband and I went to the Black Panther premiere. And so I was in my Black Panther cosplay and he was in like this really cool, like all white African outfit deal, right? So we were in like, they have like this fan section that they put people in, for like that are cosplayers. And then you get these passes. They give you this special badge thing. And then usually the movie is shown in 2 theaters. And normally they have like, I guess 1 theater for like cast, crew, influencers and stuff. And then I have 1 theater for, I guess, press and famous people and all that, right? Mm-hmm. So we were on the carpet for a while. They let us into the theater. At first we were complaining, right? Because they put us in the front. We were in the Dolby Theater. We were in row A. And I was like, no, we're in row A. But luckily it's the Dolby. So it's like, you know, they do award shows and stuff there. So there's a stage and then there's the screen. So it wasn't like super close. I was like, okay, all right, fine. But still, all right, now we're in here watching the movie, whatever.
The one time you don't want to be in the front row, right?
Right. And so then the person who was sitting next to me, she was saying something and she was like, you know, Michael B. Jordan's back there. And I was like, turned around. Sure enough, he was back there, right? And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. And so then I turned back around and I had my little thing of popcorn. So I'm sitting there, I'm just eating popcorn before the movie. And then randomly, Lupita Nyong'o walks by and Letitia Wright walks by, like literally like 3 feet in front of where we were. Cause we're on the front row. So they're 3 feet. They just walk right on by and walk up the aisle. I'm sitting there like that's it.
Choking on the popcorn.
And he's like,
done.
They put us in here with the famous people. I'm like, I know. I don't know why we're in here yet. Oh my God. So we're just sitting here like with popcorn, like just staring at all these people. God. And then my husband being crazy, he because we're in the cosplay area at the beginning, right? We didn't know how long we were going to be out there. They don't feed you. So he had brought Pringles. And so he pulled out a whole can of Pringles in the front of the Dolby Theater at this premiere. And I'm like, you were eating a can of Pringles. He's like, is this ghetto? I'm like, yes, it is, but that's fine. Give me some. We're sitting there. That happens. All that. You think this is the end of the story. It is not. So that all that happens, right? So in the movie, everything's great. Not going to spoil anything. We leave. They kick us all out and they're like, all right, go home. So we go to our hotel. The hotel, we walk to it. It's a bunch of cars, a bunch of people. Turns out the after party is at our hotel. And we were like, they probably won't let us in though. It's probably a list, whatever. So they have people stationed, like security station at every single door to even get in the hotel. Mm-hmm. We're staying there though. So we're not even worried. So we walk up and they're like, can we see like your credentials? And I didn't know if you meant our hotel key or the badge for the premiere. So we just flashed our badges first. And he was like, all right, you can come in. And we were like, okay. So we get in and we're like, yo, I think they might let us into the after party. And so then like we go to the, like, I guess the bouncer, security, whatever for the after party. And we're like, oh, we don't know where to go, blah, 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 blah. And he let us upstairs and then we were like, oh no, we're lost. And the guy was like, what party are you trying to get to? And it's like, well, we just have like these passes. And he was like, oh yeah, you're trying to get to that party. And then he moved the security thing. He moved the rope and let us in to the after party for the premiere. And so I'm standing there and I'm just like, oh, we're in the after party. And Vincent's like, yeah, but you're still in cosplay. And I'm like, I know I didn't bring a dress because I didn't know that this would happen. So we left because I was like, I'm not about to be the only person up in here looking crazy. But it's the fact that we got in. Right. I was like, oh man. So I know for future things, I'm going to always just have a fancy dress packed in my bag. always,
Yeah.
always, for any reason, because I'm kind of mad that we couldn't,
Super glue.
we couldn't stay.
Oh,
Yes, a
Love
backup fancy outfit and super glue. Always bring that moral of the story.
Remember.
It's a lesson too.
That is.
Can I just say that
Backup
was a
dress.
lesson? Got from that is when you follow your dreams,
Yes.
as corny as it may sound, when you follow your dreams and you go after what you want, doors will open for you.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I
Literally.
just got.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's amazing. That's a great story.
That was
I
so
would have passed
awesome.
out. Lupita walked by, I'm done.
Right.
Done. That's
She looked good too. It was crazy. We met a lot of people. Angela Bassett was up in there. We met like so many Avengers. We
Yeah.
like got all the autographs and stuff. I got videos with them. All that. Super fun.
That is very epic. Legit.
That's a
Thank
great
you
memory.
for sharing that with us.
I'm
That was a
glad.
good,
Cosplay gets you places.
good last question.
This has been so amazing. I could talk to you for hours, but just want to say huge thank you. I know you've been super crazy swamped. I've follow you on social media. It seems like you're everywhere these days. But appreciate you taking the time out to talk to us. Like super.
Yeah, of course. No worries.
Yeah, thank you seriously again. I also love getting to know the story behind everything that you do, but also getting to know like the personal stories that have led you there. So if people want to stay connected with you, if people want to follow along, where can we send them?
Yeah, so I am Cutiepiesensei on all platforms, and you can check out the fashion line Fira Wear at Fira X Wear on Instagram as well as Facebook.
Awesome. Thank you. We will be sure to tag all that in the description. It has truly been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, this has been fun. No, this has been great and easy.
Good.
Easy talking.
Talking to you too. This was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.